right, y'all. We are literally 20 minutes into the show. We didn't even get to the first topic yet. So let's get into her. And let's talk about Scarlett Johansson, excuse me, revealing whether or not if she's going to be returning to the MCU. And of course, you could definitely see, based on the headline at the bottom, what her answer is. So yeah, we love us some Natasha Romanoff. I love what she brought to the character of, and why is Miss Natasha blurry? Thank you. It's like the internet is interneting or StreamYard is interneting. So it has been 6 years since Natasha Romanoff went off over a cliff. I can't believe it's been that long, by the way. I'm like, damn, where did time go? And Scarlett Johansson is still begging fans to let it go, let it go. She said Natasha is dead. She is dead. She's dead, okay? Like she had to tell y'all 3 damn times. The actress said during a recent conversation with InStyle. But no matter how many times she says it, she knows that hardcore fans are still trading theories and making guesses about how Marvel's Black Widow could have survived her on-screen death. She said they just don't want to believe it. They're like, but she could come back. Now, Natasha made her memorable last stand, I should say, in Avengers Endgame, trading her life so the titular team of heroes could claim the Soul Stone needed to reverse Thanos' snap. If you ask, Johansson was a pretty definitive death. As for the naysayers who speculate that Natasha may still be alive or could somehow return to the franchise, Johansson shared 3 words. Do I need to do Frozen again? She said, let it go. The actress pointed out that Natasha's death was a crucial part of the Avengers earning their win over Thanos, and that reversing it would minimize her sacrifice. She said, look, I think the balance of the entire universe is held in her hand. We're going to have to let it go. She saved the world. Let her have her hero moment. Now, Johansson has long defended Natasha's final moments, arguing in 2019 that it was a big move for her as a character who didn't make many active choices in her life, saying she's come into her own as a woman, saying, who am I and what do I want and what do I need out of my relationship and also out of my own self. This is what she said during Insane Weekly's Endgame Roundtable. She's someone who's understanding her own self-worth, and that is such a powerful journey to see anybody take. But certainly to see a woman on the screen represented in that way, a flawed superhero with a gray moral compass, coming to terms with what happened to her. So, 2 years after her death, Natasha got a final send-off in the form of her long-awaited solo movie, which was 2021 Black Widow. In addition to shedding some light on her upbringing, the film introduced Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, who is primed to take on the Black Widow mantle. And that's what I was about to say. You know what? As much as I love me some Scarlett Johansson, I love her ever since she appeared in Iron Man 2. And then, she's made appearances throughout the whole MCU. And of course, she was in, she was also, she was in Captain America, Winter Soldier. Loved her in that freaking movie. That was like one of my favorite seeing her in that. She was in Civil War. Loved that movie as well. She was also in Endgame, and she was in, she was in the last 2 Avengers movies. And she sacrificed herself for the greater good. So I don't know why we can't leave her as dead and people can't accept that. It's kind of like the Scream fans, where a lot of y'all can't accept that Stu got that big ass TV thrown up on his face and he didn't survive. I mean, I know that he's supposed to be making an appearance in Scream. We'll see how they manage to make that whole scenario work. But for the most part, can we just accept the fact that when they say a character is dead, that they can stay dead, that we don't have to go into some multiverse and pull out a different version like they did with Zoe Saldana's character in the Guardians of the Galaxy, that they pulled out some different version of her, and it wasn't even like Gamora that Star-Lord was in love with, that it was a different version. So I don't like when they want to do that. When we got to dig into the multiverse for a different version of somebody and on all these other things. It's just like, yeah, if somebody dies, let that be the situation where it was, and they did it for the greater good. It was for an impact for the audience, because I feel like a lot of times, and maybe this is why a lot of people don't want to agree with her being dead or accept it, is because there have been too many times when we've seen movies where y'all kill a character off, and then it's just like, a movie or 3 later, you bring them back, which I'm like, well, what was the point of you pulling on our heartstrings and steering us in this direction if you were going to reverse the very thing you did for fan service or whatever the case is. They've done it many a times in the Fast and the Furious movies. Is there any character in that movie that's actually dead? Because, you know, Michelle Rodriguez died. Now she alive. Apparently she had amnesia. Then we saw in the last horrible freaking Fast X, Gal Gadot. Didn't she die sacrificing herself? One of the best movies that they made out of the franchise of the Fast and the Furious. Now she alive. Or came out of a submarine like she was Mila Jovovich in or well, you know, the villains brought out Ada Wong in Retribution. That's what it felt like. I'm like, well, how's she alive? Y'all gotta explain that in the next one. So it's like y'all, the only one that we know is dead is Paul Walker because he's dead in real life. So you can't bring him back. But everybody, or they didn't kill his character off in the movie, but you know what I'm saying. So to me, it's just like it's way more impactful to keep her dead than anything else. And I like Scarlett Johansson. I would love for her to come back, but I'm definitely curious to see what Yelena is going to bring in regards of Thunderbolts, which, you know, this recent trailer they dropped of Thunderbolts, it looks really good. I've actually wanted to see. I'm not gonna lie. I was a bit on the fence. I was a bit skeptical with Thunderbolts because we've been kind of let down a lot by the MCU on whether or not are we going to get a good movie. I was just like, I enjoyed watching the last Captain America movie, Brave New World, but for the most part, it was all over the place. The script was a mess. Y'all had Anthony Mackie's character interacting in situations that had nothing to do with him. He wasn't tied to any of that stuff. You were pulling things from Incredible Hulk. You were pulling things from so many other IPs that he wasn't even a part of. So instead of giving him his own film that he could hold down. And I think like fear kind of played into that with the studio. They had to figure all that out. So hopefully when we're getting Thunderbolts, that you know, it'll steer us in the right direction, and finally the MCU can get themselves on the right track. Because post Endgame, y'all have been, you know, trying to keep y'all heads above water, in my opinion. So I like Florence Pugh. I'm looking forward to seeing what she's gonna bring to, you know, the Black Widow franchise. Also, let's not forget they had another Black Widow S type character who was like from Israel, and I know there was a big controversy behind all that when it came to the Captain America Brave New World, where they had this little lady up in there who I didn't know she was an Israeli's, you know, superhero, whatever the case was. I didn't know anything about her, but apparently there was a whole controversy. People was protesting at the premiere and all that other stuff. So yeah, she's dead. Let her stay dead. And then she also spoke about, in addition to this, she spoke about Jurassic World, where the studio, I believe it's Universal, wanted her to jump on Instagram so she could promote the film. And she was like, I'm not a social media girl. This is not a world that I'm interested in jumping on just for the sake of promoting the film. I need to be able to be me and continue to have the type of integrity that I have without having to succumb to jumping on social media and getting in that world. Because I know like a lot of people will think that, okay, so now I'm going to jump on social media. I'm going to promote this movie. And now I'm going to have the trolls, a lot of the incels coming on and starting a mess when I'm over here just trying to promote a movie. But then people want to jump in because they don't like maybe certain things that I've said or whatever. They want to jump in and find this as a way to come into the comments and say some stuff. And I agree with her on that. If she's not a social media girl, don't put her into that. Universal, y'all need to do your job and figure out how to promote this movie in really cool ways. I'll show up, I'll do the interviews, I'll go on the red carpet, I'll be the show pony. But I'm not gonna get on no internet because I don't do that. You know, I got other things that I got going on besides trying to jump on the internet because you want me to teeter to a certain demographic. Y'all just got to get creative in that part. So I just want to throw that in there because that was something that she had said in another interview. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Are you upset that we're no longer going to get Scarlett Johansson in future MCU films? I feel like, you know what? We all moved on. It's time for the MCU to develop and get us on board with newer characters so they can continue to steer the MCU in the right direction rather than relying on your former stars, like a Chris Hemsworth, like a Scarlett Johansson, now recently RDJ, who's about to play Doctor Doom. So now you're digging into the old war chest to bring back past characters from a previous cinematic universe and having them play a different character because y'all are having a bit of an identity crisis over there. It's just like, just develop new characters. Like, you should have been invested in developing Shang-Chi, so we could have been rooting for, man, I love the first movie. Like, we should have been had a sequel out for that film. And there should have been other characters that you should have been developing so that way by the time we get to, the next Avengers, Secret Wars, and Doomsday, and all that other stuff, that we already have characters that we're rooting for. Because at this moment, I just got a fog. I'm in a haze. I don't see who is going to be able to carry the mantle beyond the superheroes that we've already grown to love through the first 3 phases. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.